Embed Visual Studio Code inside Business Central. Why would you need or want to do that? Well, let me explain. There's lots of occasions when I want to display a large amount of text inside Business Central. It's usually something to do with integration with another system. I want to see the request that we sent, the response that we got back. It's a big block of XML or JSON or CSV or some other format. I've blogged before about using the web page viewer control add-in to prettify your JSON, so you can format it nicely in a human readable format with a little bit of JSON that's embedded in the web page viewer control. And that's cool as far as it goes. But it occurred to me the other day, well, Visual Studio Code runs in the browser. More specifically, the editor which VS Code uses, called Monaco, is the open source browser-based editor. Could we not embed that Monaco editor inside Business Central? And then we'd have all the shortcuts and the controls that we love from VS Code, but inside BC. And it turns out that you can. So let me show you what I've done. Let's switch to Business Central. I've just got a list of files here. This is just a table with an ID, a file name, and a blob field which has the content. And response.json, let's edit that. And we open up Visual Studio Code. Well, basically, the Monaco editor inside a Business Central page here. And you get all of the features that you know and love from that editor. So it highlights opening and closing brackets that belong with each other. It understands that this is a JSON file. I can click on things which are going to occur more than once and have them highlighted more than once. I can control D and select more than one instance of that. I can control F. I can use regex here if I want to use regex. I can control H and use find replace like I would do in VS Code. I can hit F1 and bring up the command palette, fold regions, unfold regions. This isn't VS Code. It doesn't have extensions installed, but as a lightweight text editor, I just want to display a lot of text, and maybe I want to edit it as well. Let's say we're going to have another user block here. I use all the time Alt, Shift, and up or down just to replicate that whole block. So now I can do that. I can come in here, I can Alt up and down, move the lines around, close the page, and the changes are saved to the file again. It might not be JSON, it might be XML. Open this up, and XML is formatted nicely, and you get opening and closing tags which are highlighted together. Again, maybe there's a new book that we want to edit here. Again, Alt Shift down. Away you go, just edit it. Maybe I want to change fantasy to fantasy and sci-fi as a new category. And I'm going to replace all. And we're done. Close the page. Changes are saved. And then fantasy and sci-fi is there. Line numbers, little map of the file here. It resizes correctly as you open and close the page, expand and collapse the page. So I thought that was very cool. I thought that was worth sharing. So what's actually going on here? How does that work? As I said, the file table is very simple: ID, file name, and content. I've just got three functions to edit the content, set and get the content. And all of the magic is happening in the file content page, which is hosting a control add-in. So from that files page, we just edit the content, and that is going to use this file content page to display and edit the content. So let's jump in there. This is hosting just one control, and it's the user control file content control. The control is going to tell us when it's ready, and when it's ready, we'll set the content that we've already got stored in the blob field, and we're going to set the language which is inferred from the file extension of the file name. But of course, you could determine the language another way if you wanted. And we're going to get a trigger coming back into Business Central when the content is updated to say this is the new content within the user control. So I should say a lot of this is lifted from a blog post, which I'll put in the description of the video. Good to give credit to blog posts where you can. That's fine using LLMs to churn out code for you, but just give a little nod to people who are taking the time to create some content to help you out. So the user control, you specify a couple of scripts here. So this is the Monaco editor retrieved from Cloudflare, and also a functions.js. All this is going to do is declare an editor variable. I'm going to call this a global variable. I'm sure there are people who actually know JavaScript who are going to tell me that this is not strictly speaking a global variable because variables are hoisted into some different scope. JavaScript is mad. I'm calling this a global variable because I just want to share this between my functions.js and the starter.js, which we'll look at in a second. And we also define a couple of functions, set content and set language, and it's going to pass those into the editor. The editor itself is going to be defined in the startup script. This is lifted from the blog post. I'm not going to pretend that I figure this out by myself. Here's the crucial bit for Business Central. We get element by ID called control add-in. That's the div which is hosted by Business Central for you to inject your own HTML, JavaScript, control, whatever. And in that div, we're going to create Monaco editor.create. You can preload it at this point with a value and a language. But we're going to set that in a minute. And we're also going to have a couple of event listeners. One is if that div resizes, so, when you expand and collapse the page, make it full screen or not, we're going to respond to that and resize the editor at the same time. And then also on did change model content, we are going to call nav back, Business Central, Dynamics nav.invoke extensibility model, and say we want to invoke the on content submitted method, and here is the value of the editor. When all of that's defined and declared, we're then going to call the control ready event so that Business Central knows, okay, we are ready to set the content and set the language now. So back to the control add-in, you define those things there. So those are our scripts. That's the startup script that we're going to use, a bit of styling as well. And there's two events that we're expecting to be triggered by the control add-in to say it's ready and content is submitted. And there's two procedures going in the other direction to set the content and set the language. So all we need to do on the page then is have a trigger to say when the content is ready, and when the control is ready, rather, set the content, set the language, and when the content is updated, then set content in this page. And all that is doing is we've got a global variable within the page holding that text content, and when we then close this Business Central page again, we'll retrieve that content, write it back into the blob field. So there you go. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's that. VS Code, or more specifically the Monaco editor, embedded in a Business Central page. Nice way for you to view or even edit a big block of text within BC. Cool.